What's going on, man? How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm living the dream, man. It's another first of the month. The year is flying by, and episode 8. My goodness.
Yeah, it was like I think high of like the high 50s today here, so it does not feel like it is June 1st, so it's awesome.
Dude, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm trying to adjust this so I can actually see comments now. I don't need to see your face. That's what I've learned. There we go. All right. Hello, people. I can see comments now. This is exciting. A whole new
All
world
you
for
have to
me.
do is hit the comments thing on the
Okay. So sort of. You're not wrong, but the problem is my camera blocks part of my computer screen. So then I have to adjust the window for everything so I can see. That way I can stare at the camera and still talk to you. It's a great thing. Trust me, it's a system. Okay.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
it's a lot, but we're gonna get there, you know? All right.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
awesome. Hello everybody. Thank y'all for joining us. Like I said, episode 8 of A Really Smart Guy and a Doctor. And yeah, it's been an
It's been eight
interesting
months.
month. What's that?
It's been 8 months.
No, 8 episodes.
I know, so one a month.
Holy shit.
That's why I'm the really smart guy.
Yeah. You know what? I'm used to the late to the mic timetable, so I was like, 2 months. We've been doing this. Wow, 8 months. Dude,
Yeah,
it's almost
time
been a
flies.
year.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to. What are we gonna do for our 1 year anniversary?
I don't know. Maybe what's that, 4 months from now? Maybe by then I'll have the Mandarin test.
Okay. I'm not putting out if you don't buy me dinner. That's all I'm saying. Oh my
Uh,
gosh. Wow. Goodness gracious. Almost a year. Look at us. Look, we're consistent. We're doing things, and I don't think Chris has had to yell at us once in this whole process.
I don't think Chris knows we're even on his channel.
You're probably not wrong there. That's
Yeah.
fair. Awesome. All right. We've got a bunch of people in the comments already. That's exciting. So guys, once again, thank y'all for hanging out with us. This month we've had some drama which we're not going to really get into.
Yeah.
But other than a little bit of drama on genetic testing, what's some of the exciting things that have happened in the past few days that should have been announced on this show?
Oh, monsoon. Yeah.
Oh, monsoon.
Yeah. I feel like it wasn't like oh, we didn't really have to like people have been testing using the test for a while now, so it's not like it was you know.
Don't worry, I will get on that tangent at some point in this episode. I assure you.
Yeah, Mike, good to see you back in action,
Oh,
man.
yeah, Mike, I'm glad you're not dead anymore.
Yeah.
That's a plus.
Easter Sunday he rose.
That's good. That's what's important.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, you're right. Like we've been, RGIU, everyone's been running monsoon stuff. It's just I think needed a little more confidence in the test
Yeah.
before, I guess releasing it to the population and telling people like, use at your own risk, right? Like
Yeah.
we
I heard like the day I put it up there, I put a
right.
disclaimer and everything right on, like we order everything like that, and just explaining everything. Like I'm probably like RGI said they when they do their website they're gonna have pages for like every test and everything. So I think I'm just gonna make a single page just for monsoon, and
Yeah.
just like to keep updating stuff because, like I said, man, I'm not gonna stop messing with it. Just because I know we don't have the causative mutation yet.
Right.
So that kind of is annoying, and that's why it took a little bit out of the announcing it for me. Um, but unlike lace where it was, it's a no-brainer that we have the causative mutation for lace.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked if it wasn't. So it's a little different, but it's been so accurate for so long now, that there's no reason not to, as long as everybody knows that there is a possibility.
Yeah. I think it's important, and there's a chance, and I haven't delved into the data with y'all either. If you really wanted to like make it even more accurate than it already is, which we have what, two samples that are off at this point?
Yeah, out of
Yes.
like a few hundred.
Hundreds. Yeah. So the test is super accurate. You could essentially add an additional biomarker, and that probably would get you well over 99.99%, right? And then you would just have to test for 2 biomarkers, and you're probably golden. But like you said, it would be nice to have the causative mutation, and the fact that you are off and it hasn't just been you, it's everybody else is off on these same samples. At this point, it's not like LACE where, there was one sample that was off, but then it turned out it was the instrument, right? And so then you Sanger sequence it, you're good to go. So yeah, it's definitely not the causative mutation, and I think the important thing is just being transparent with everybody, which is what everyone seems to be doing at this point. And
that's what I've said, like on RGI's show, like I recommend everybody to, if they test something and it comes back hat and they're selling it, say that in your list. It might get you a little bit less money, but guess what? You less drama and less headache you have to deal with, a year from now, 2 years.
This is a little bit on the sales side. I often wonder how many people actually read descriptions. So when we list stuff, I have a script that kind of auto makes my notes, right? And so anything that's tested, no matter what it's tested for, it gets put in the note description. And I've gotten like 1 or 2, messages from people. They're like, it's, very complicated because it's like this giant paragraph. Because at one point I had done like a panel with RGI. And so it literally just like copy and pasted the whole panel results into my description. And it's like negative for this, positive for this. And they're like, do you really need to let me know it's negative for Enchi? I'm like, it's an auto thing. Sorry, guys. But to your point, I think it's good. Let people know it's been tested.
Yeah. And at the same time, like it's helping the other way with LACE, it's making people a lot more confident now. I've already seen it and people have already reached out to me like, hey, did you definitely test that one? Making sure that the person just didn't write it was tested. I said, yep, I did. It's good to go. Okay, cool. It's definitely, I think it's great that test, that the LACE test is out there. And like I said, I tested a ton over the last 2 days. And for this one guy, I tested a bunch for yesterday. And they were like I think like 19 out of 20 or something crazy were like LACE.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, did this come from white LACE or something? This whole one of these clutches? It's like, no, I just sent the ones that I was, very confident in.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
And even though he's very confident in it, he still wants to be able to put on there that it was tested, so that, because guess what? Even you could be very confident and wrong once in a while. So might as well not be wrong that once in a while, Yeah. So. But there's still tons and tons and tons of people not testing it, that's fine. Eventually it's just going to hurt them because people are going to see that there are people testing it and they could get guaranteed LACE stuff instead of, it looks like it is right now, but then a year from now it's fire, but
yeah, it, And the unfortunate part too is not only is there a group of people that aren't testing it, some of those people aren't testing it because they're pretty aware of the issue that they don't have LACE or whatever, but they're going to sell the stuff cheap enough, and there's going to be buyers that are willing to buy it on the chance because it's a deal, right? And that's just a part of our industry.
And deal with the returns and the I mean, I guess that's the thing though. People still aren't, necessarily guaranteeing codoms and stuff, but
you want to dive into that?
Not even going to get into that. And hey, it's in there. I get it. It's in there. So it's just, I guess nowadays that the test is out and it is available, people just have to be more careful because you can be. Don't be. It's your fault too as a buyer if you buy something, and unless you're super like involved and into the gene and into the project, just looking at a picture of it doesn't always work.
I agree. What I've started telling people over the past couple of weeks after some stuff that's happened is there's kind of two ways that I'll go about it in the future, right? Is the first, if I'm buying an expensive animal that is expensive because of one incomplete dominant, I'm going to ask it, if this animal doesn't have the expensive or what I want in this animal, what are you going to do to make it right? That's the first question, right? And that's something as buyers, like everyone watching and listening in the future, that's the first thing. If you go and you see a lace animal, right, and that animal is an extra $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 because it has lace in it specific, and that's the gene you specifically want, ask the seller, hey, how confident are you it's lace? And then if it's not lace, what do we do to fix this? Right? That's how I would start the conversation at this point.
Because technically the seller is correct. If they have it in their terms that they're not guaranteed, they're not guaranteed. Right. There's nothing Morph Market's going to do. There's nothing anybody's going to do on that. It says it right there. So you as the buyer have to be smart and talk about it prior.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And even like you said, you have it in yours. Like everybody has.
We all have it. But let's, and maybe that's something too that we don't talk enough about, and it's why do we have it? And we can go on that tangent for half a second. So in most breeders now, that most larger breeders that I interact with, in their terms of service, incomplete dominants are not guaranteed. Recessives are, sex is, incomplete dominants are. And one of the major reasons for that is to protect ourselves on these snakes that, like, we're doing our best to guess, right? You hatch out this black pastel, GHI, yellow belly, red stripe, spot nose. We're pretty sure what those look like. But sometimes you might miss a gene in there, yellow belly, or maybe spot nose even, or GHI, whatever. If that gene is not what the buyer was really buying that animal for, and the buyer was, felt confident it was, and we felt confident it was, it gives us some flexibility to kind of make some decisions there on how we're going to take care of the customer in that situation, right? You said, Patrick, I bought this animal and it didn't have GHI. My first question is, okay, like, how do we make this right? Like, how does that affect you and what your plans were, and then you go from there. So that's why we have that stuff in there, to give us flexibility to kind of cover, because some of these are, you said, like a best guess, and so that's why we do it. It's not so that we don't have to guarantee, we don't have to cover if something that's expensive is missing.
And if you are looking for specifically a GHI, yellow belly, red stripe, het clown female, and Aura has one for sale, I go to you, hey, how confident are you in this? I need this combo. If I test it or if I breed it and it's not, can I send it back and figure it out prior? So if there is something specific you're looking for, just talk about it prior. That's it.
Yeah. So it's funny you bring that up. I had a buyer, this is probably 2 or 3 years ago. He was buying a leopard spot nose, red stripe, ultramel het clown male from me. And when he messaged me, the first question he asked was like, how sure are you it's red stripe? And I was like, I'm pretty sure. And I sent him pictures, and that was the whole conversation, was he had to have red stripe in this animal. And I told him, I am very confident based on what I have, but I can't guarantee it because visually it's tough. So what we ended up doing was, he was willing to take the risk. I was willing to sell it to him, but he got it at a discount, right? And for him, he was like, I'm willing to take the gamble at a discounted rate. Would you do that? I'm like, you know what? I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, let's go for it. And so stuff like that happens, right? And that's where it's really important. Have those conversations beforehand. Talk about, like, this, like you just said, this is the gene I really want in this animal. I need it to have that. And then roll from there. That's what's important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair on both sides. Like, at that point, if the seller's not comfortable, he doesn't have to make the sale. If the buyer's not comfortable, he doesn't have to buy it. And that's it. That will stop all issues, especially if that's in writing.
Yeah, I think the other part that and this may not help people that haven't been around as long. I also, like, if you're really questioning a gene, you got to really have faith that seller is going to be around for a while. I've been burned a couple of times on, I buy an animal that was questionable. The person guarantees it up and down, and then 2 years later, they're out of the industry, and I'm out $5,000.
Right.
It happens. You guys expect too much from Bob if you think they're going to research this. You're not wrong, but we can at least put it out there, okay? We can put it out there. I do have a ton of research.
Paul,
You know what? I'm just excited to know that Chris knows we're here. Okay,
I know.
I'm gonna be honest. He knows we're here. We're over here trying to make the industry a better place, and look at this nonsense.
And then I think over the last month I released Vanilla and something else.
Yeah.
What was it? Vanilla and
Disco? Was Disco
Cypress.
preview?
Cypress.
Oh, you just released Cypress. I thought that was out
Yes.
for a while.
No, I had it and I just never released it because I was waiting
Hmm.
for the primers for the new system to test it and everything. And it works.
You were holding on to it and only testing certain people's stuff to help bolster their
No,
collection.
nobody's got tested except for mine and people's that I had sheds for. But no, I think RGI's had that out for a while though.
Yeah.
And then I do believe I have Disco. I just have
Okay.
to find some really. I tested a few that people said were, and some weren't. But I just have to do kind of what I did with Lace to make sure that the
Well,
people that are sending the sheds know what they have. 'Cause we're
Disco
pretty
and Fire
sure
is
we're pretty sure that we have the cause of mutation for Disco. Fire, we have 2 because it's 2 tests.
yeah.
And Vanilla, they're all good. Vanilla's perfect.
Good.
So Disco is the only one that I think because it's not as worked as Vanilla, it made it a little more harder to get
Yeah.
perfect sheds for. But
Well, and it's tough to, right? It looks so much like, it looks identical to Fire. And so if at some point in somebody's lineage they bought, a Disco and it was actually a Fire, they're kind of fucked on that end,
right.
And you're not going to know until you're pairing those Discos or Fires together and you're getting, which super you get.
Mhm.
I had a Disco Het Clown that for years I was pretty sure it was Disco. I bought it as that and I trusted the breeder, but it wasn't until I actually made, Infernos or Disco Fernos or whatever they're called. I was like, oh, good news. It actually is Disco. I have not been screwing customers over for years.
Nice. And then I just got an email from my lab I use for whole genome sequencing that Mandarin, Tri-Stripe, MJ Xanthic, and what else? Red Stripe are all done with quality control, and they're going through whole genome sequencing probably this week coming up.
Okay.
So
all right.
Could get data back on that soon. Speaking of data, I dove into the bioinformatics portion of genetic testing.
How do you like my world?
So usually when I get the data back from the lab, I pay a bioinformatician to run his pipeline on it and compare the data and everything like that. But with Patrick's help, I just bought all the pieces to put together a pretty crazy computer.
Yeah.
And I did that Friday, and we are running some data right now as we speak.
It's exciting, man.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll see. That's like I need anything else to take up time in my life, but
yeah,
I did it myself.
It's funny. We talk on the phone, and Charlie's like, "Oh, so busy. I've got this and I've got this. And I'm just so busy." And so then, I'm reaching out to contacts and I'm figuring out ways that we can remove things off of Charlie's plate. And I think we've removed a pretty big chunk of Charlie's stuff off of his plate here recently. And then about 3 days later, I get a phone call. I think I'm just going to start doing my own bioinformatics. Of course you are, because we freed up your time and now you have to fill it.
Because that's not even that. It's just, I hate not knowing how that works. And just like anything, like that's why I get into all the dumb stuff I get myself into. That's why I got into this, because I saw it and I was like, I got to figure out if that is possible for me to do. Like, and who is this guy that I'm paying to do bioinformatics? And is he really that much smarter than me? And why can't I do it? Or
he's not that much smarter than you.
Or am I just paying for him to upload a bunch of files I send him and press a button? Lo and behold, that's what I just did on my computer. It took a while. I got the computer built Friday. I was up very late both nights messing with it. But I got to the point now where pretty much if this works, that's how it's going to be, is upload a couple files and press play and walk away. And the computer runs for a day probably. And let's see. I don't know. It might not work this first time, but we'll try.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
sure if
you.
it doesn't, then I'll just be sitting at the computer for days on end talking to ChatGPT and Patrick
There it
and
is.
Google and YouTube and
Yeah.
trying to figure everything out.
Yeah, there's a lot of tweaking most likely you're gonna have to do to kind of get it fit. Also, like, what you're doing is simple enough that like a relatively simple pipeline will do it, right? You're
Right.
not comparing hundreds of samples, you're comparing two, more or less.
Yeah.
Two groups, but at the end of the day, those two groups are basically out of two samples. So yeah, no, it's very doable and it's exciting. And it's one of those things, once you really get the pipeline running, it's gonna be great. It'll be interesting once you actually run the pipeline and try and get results that match up with stuff you either already know or new stuff and start testing
Well,
to see
that's
what
what
your
I'm doing
success
first.
rate.
I'm not even messing with the new stuff. So even if I get the date, I mean, depending on how things go over the next week, when I get the date back for all the stuff I have out, I'm still probably going to have the bioinformatician do it because I want
Yeah.
it. I want it done right, and I don't want it to take forever. So,
Yeah.
but so right now I'm just going to do it on ones that I already have the end product for.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
this is when I do it, if it can match or be better than that. And
Yep.
then, I think that the real reason I want to get into it is to not just get that one file that I get from bioinformatician, to be able to change filtering, look into different things, add to it. If I want to do some, long reads and just stuff that I could compare and do more work on and not have to explain to somebody what I'm trying to do. And,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just want my own.
It gives you having the tools to do it yourself. And that's the thing with Chat GPT now. It opens up a whole new world because at the end of the day, you don't have to know or go learn all of the coding languages I had to learn. You have Chat GPT that speaks all of those for you, and you just give it English and it gives you output. And you're able to take that output and trial and error it very quickly to figure out how it works or doesn't work.
Yeah.
So it's awesome. No, I
I
think
mean,
it's
and
great.
this especially because I do have a computer science degree. I used to know how to code fairly well.
Yeah.
That's something if you don't do, you lose it. So, but
Dude,
just even
totally.
seeing it again, it's like, oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
So I know what I could ask of ChatGPT because I know what's possible via coding.
Yes.
If you don't know any coding, it's going to be a little more difficult because you might ask it unrealistic things that can't happen.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
And also, it's not always right. Like I had an argument with ChatGPT today where I cursed it out because it was telling me to do something and I knew it was wrong.
I love it.
And they just kept saying, "Oh yeah, I got that. Thanks for calling me out on that. I'm going to
Hey, Sugar
redo it."
Skull. Kevin,
You
how you
know?
doing, bud? Hi, how's it going, bud?
But yeah, so that's the new stressful thing I have going on in my life, which is awesome. But it's
Dude,
not stressful because I could just play around with it right now and I still have my guy to do it if I need.
Yeah.
So it's not like
It's
oh my
not.
God, I got to get this done before all this data comes back. No.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not in some kind of situation. It's literally like it's a toy at this point, which is honestly like I wish bioinformatics was like that for me. It'd be way more fun
Right.
if it was just a toy.
Yeah. Like this is
Chris is not wrong. You do have to be polite to chat when the robot finally comes. You want them to know you're always nice to them. And sure, I say please and thank you to ChatGPT regularly every time.
yeah. But no, it's very interesting to see what goes into it, and that's just like I said, that's the way my brain works. I have to know, and if I have any sort of extra time, which I still don't even have that right now because the weather has screwed me here in the Northeast. Has just been rain. Like every weekend has been rain.
Yeah.
Great for shed testing because I can't do too much in the yard, but any window like today, I was like, I gotta do rats. I gotta clean my rodents. It smells horrible in there. I gotta do it. And so like we have like 2-hour window where it didn't rain. Pull the tractor up there, put my front loader up, and I'm just dumping rat stuff, cleaning everything, getting them all done. Boom, great. this literally get on the tractor to go dump it all out in the woods, and it starts pouring on me. I'm like, oh, thank you, because that was the
Yeah.
one thing I've been putting off. That I'm like, I'm going to lose every rat I have if I let this go another
Yeah.
day.
It's gotta happen.
So I had to get that done today.
I love it.
Which every time I do it, it still reminds me how miserable it is, and I don't know how people
Just
do
get
that.
rid of the snakes and just do shed testing. You'll be happier.
Snakes are too fun.
Yeah, that's the. Yeah, you're right. You don't have enough on your plate, so it's fine. Chris mentioned ChatGPT. OpenAI said that it costs them about $3 million a month because people say please and thank you. And there's no greater joy in my life than knowing that venture capitalists have to pay an extra $3 million because we're good humans and say polite things. I love it so much.
That's crazy. That can't be real.
No, it is. It's because what'll happen is when people respond, right? So it spits out its response, and then instead of just moving on, which is what they would expect us to do, we give it another input, which is the please or thank you or whatever else. And that is a whole nother input that the whole server farm has to process. And so you have enough people doing it constantly. Yeah, it adds up, man. It's great.
107 in what? Mike, you're in Northern California, aren't you?
Oof.
That's crazy. I'll take it though because it's cold as shit here. I hate it.
Absolutely not. I will not take 107. I grew up in East Texas where the weather was like that, and no, absolutely not. I'll take wet and rainy over that any day.
But yeah, so not too much else. Hopefully in a few weeks, maybe have. Well, but I would say if all goes well with this other thing I'm thinking of and that you've been helping me with, that maybe next show we might have some more stuff we could talk about.
Yeah, no, there's some really exciting things that we're working on, and I look forward to talking about that when we get to that point because it's gonna. Yeah. It's ironically a direction years ago I thought about doing. There just wasn't enough volume at the time, and then it kind of left my brain until recently, and I'm glad that we got back to that thought.
Yeah,
so this will be I think it's going to be fantastic for everyone involved, and if I'm being honest, I think it should give more confidence in testing in general, and we'll talk about why and all that stuff, but I'm excited about that. Yeah, like I said at the beginning of the show this month has been, we had the monsoon announcement. That was big, but like you said, people have been testing that already, so but still exciting. I'm glad that we
I should have had the data for all that other stuff back already, but I don't know if I talked about it in this show, if I was just talking to you about it, but I had like my rep at the lab that I use left, and like I emailed a month ago saying, hey, put up this quote for all this whole genome sequencing I'm doing coming up, and I never got a response. And finally I like messaged the general thing. It was like, what's going on? And they're like, oh, he left. Like, that doesn't get forwarded to somebody? Like,
it's funny you bring that up. It, depending on the company, it doesn't, which is really weird. So when I was at PPD, I had clients, like when I left, they just never got responses back because my email was killed and there was no forwarding because no one really kept track always of whose client was who. So the
problem is that even after I got somebody and I got somebody new, this is so unique compared to what most labs do that they had to make sure they knew what they were doing and exactly what I needed from them. So we pretty much had to go through the whole explaining process all over again. So it pushed us back like a month on like Mandarin and stuff like that. So I'm excited to see what I get back from Mandarin. I think it's going to be very difficult. One, because I guarantee that I did not sequence all super mandarins. I mean, unless I got real lucky and everybody who sent me things and told me they were super mandarins was awesome at IDing them, then maybe we could get lucky. It could be awesome. But Lace was that way too. But Lace wound up being a gene that stuck out, and it wound up being fairly easy to find. Hopefully Mandarin's the same way.
Lace, fortunately, the gene it's affected is ironically actually a pretty well studied gene just across the board and has a pretty I mean, it's interesting, right? It makes lace animals and other species. It's
And
pretty
that's what I
cool.
was saying about monsoon. Like monsoon is in this area where it literally makes a monsoon and another
Yeah.
animal. Like that's why when I first saw that, God, it's probably over a year now. I'm like, this is it. We got it. Like, look, this is a monsoon of this animal,
Yeah.
and it's in that area where there's a bunch of genes that do that in other animals. So we know we're right there. So that's why the marker has been so good, is because it is so close to where we're at. But this portion of the genome right there is just very messy, and it's
Yeah.
hard to dial in on. So, but
Eh,
whatever,
you'll
we'll
get there.
continue to work on it.
Yeah.
Heather Roffey's like, she's going to be still continuing sequencing all different exons and everything around there, see if she can find it.
Cool.
So, yeah, but I'll be excited to see when Mandarin comes up.
Yeah, it'll be good. We need to get Heather on and Jurgen. We need to get some of these
I was
people
thinking
on.
about, I literally forgot about that. I didn't realize it was June 1st until this afternoon.
Yeah.
And because I was thinking about that the other day, I was like, oh, I'll see if they could come on me and Patrick's show, you know.
Yeah.
But Jurgen, it's tough. It's
Well,
I don't
he's
know.
I mean, he's
He's
overseas
like
and
6 hours ahead, so in
Yeah.
the middle, he's sleeping.
Well, he can suck it
But
up.
we'll see. Maybe next month I'll see if he feels like staying up all night. And we got to see what day of the week it lands on. A weekend obviously would be best, so he doesn't have to stay up or wake up crazy early and then go right to
Yeah,
work.
and I mean, realistically, we can also. I mean, we can talk to Jurgen and Heather if we have to. We'll just pre-record an episode. It's not that big of a deal.
Right.
So, we'll get them all on. I think it's important to highlight everybody that's played a role in all of the genetic testing. You know, this went from being something that 2010 is when I started looking at it, and it was so obscenely cost inefficient you couldn't do it. And we've gone from that point where it wasn't even a possible reality to some random cop up in New York starting a company doing it. So it's
Shedtesting.com. Oh
yeah,
man.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I love and there's a lot of people that have played a role in it. There's a lot of people that have given time for more or less for free to make this stuff happen.
Yeah.
I think it's great, man. And it
Hannah Seidel, she pretty much,
I'd say she pioneered it. Yeah.
And Alan up in Canada.
Yeah.
Heather, they were all working on it.
Yeah, it's great stuff, and I think it's good to get some of these people on if they want to and talk about it and talk about the journey of what got them rolling with it and what really motivated them to get moving, because it's cool stuff. I love it. It's great.
But yeah, I don't know if you heard that beep. That was my thermal cycler.
Is that it? Is that beeping. You did tell me we were gonna have to cut a little early today.
Yeah, that just beeped. So
okay.
Not much went on. If anybody has any questions, you could reach out to either of us on Instagram at Shed Testing at Bora Reptiles.
That's it.
YouTube? You putting out YouTubes or what?
I am. I actually been putting them out weekly. It's kind of surprising. It's weird. Nice. So yeah, if y'all I guess it's been a fun episode, and like Charlie said, best way to reach out to people for him, shedtesting.com. He's got the website, which looks nice. I've recently looked at it. It's good. And then the IG.
2 years, but whatever.
It's fine. It's fine. And then for me, guys, Aura Reptiles on all social media platforms. I'm actually putting out YouTube videos now, and I'm putting a modicum of effort into it. So just do me a favor. Go watch some videos. It'll be worth it, I promise. On that bombshell, Charlie, let's call it a wrap, and we'll do this again in a month.
Yeah, hopefully we got some more news for you next month, and we'll be pushing out some new tests.
All right. I love it. Guys, thank you all for hanging out with us on this quick show. Make sure to tune in for Snakes and the Fat Man. It comes on in about 25 minutes. It's going to be an amazing episode, and Chris is going to be super energetic and full of life and energy because he's been drinking mushroom coffee. That's all I got. Love you guys. Thank you all.
Take care.
Bye.